Relax it, will be better next time I try. And even if I still can't do it, yeah, you know that I'm gonna stick to it. Yes, it's all about going through it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Whoopsie, whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see, I'm better at this today. Woo! Whoopsies, whoopsie, whoopsie, whoopsies. I'm a little embarrassed when I look at my drawing compared to this. I'm just not getting anywhere with this. It makes me wanna hide. Aw, don't be embarrassed. Don't hide. You should have seen mine the first time I tried. It took a lot of whoopsies to look this way.
No one's perfect on their first day. Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsie, 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 whoopsies.
Well, what about this? I want to jump rope, but nope, I just can't do it.
Well, not yet. Come on and practice with me. You'll see there's nothing to it.
Whoa! Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see, I'm better at this today. Woo! Wait.
It was only a dream, the waves of evil crashing over us. It was only a weak and faithful scream beneath the battlements. I know it's hard, but for long, before it's too dark. Wake up, my love, please don't give up on me. It's hard. Wake up. It was only a dream, the waves of evil crashing over us. It was only a weak and faithful scream beneath the battlements. But I know it's hard, before long, before it's too dark. Wake up, my love, please don't give up on me.
What is up? What is up, you guys? We are back at it again. Another day here in 100 Days of Rootkit. And my camera's a little messed up right now because I started Streamlabs without having the camera plugged in. So we gotta do some oopsie cleanup right now. But overall, today we're continuing our epic journey with our final project. I hope you guys are as psyched as I am. Make sure you guys load up all those questions that you have. Ask questions that you have right now if you have any. Oh shit, first one, Bruce. What does the first one mean? All right, give me like 2 seconds here to mess up my camera. I think I just have to. Do I turn it on and off? Wait, how to deactivate, activate. There we go. All right. Let us continue on our epic journey here. I have to do some apologies. All right. I know 1,000 excuses. All right. 1,000 excuses. All right. The supporters chat. I kind of forgot to drop the code in there. I did just drop it in. There are no comments. All right. Forgive me. All right. I am writing right now myself a message to make sure I get it done. Get it done. Code. And not just that, but also the giveaway. Alright, the last giveaway. The last one I did not push out and I did not create. So I will hopefully guarantee that will be done after today's stream. Alright? Look, I'm sorry, you guys. I forget a lot of. I have a terrible memory. All right, I forget a lot of things, and it's even worse when you're trying to learn something. All right, forgetting something that you just got told. First one in chat and to be on stream. Well, actually, there's people on Twitch on stream too, so you don't know that, Bruce. All right, so before we jump into things, let's just do our recap here. If you don't know, we are a Rootkit nonprofit organization here in the U.S. Don't go to college. Don't go to any other boot camp. We're teaching 100 days free right now on YouTube. Watch all of them, then get certified. It's just that easy. Then you get a job. Why? Why go into debt? Why lose a whole bunch of money? If you want to pay thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, just pay us. Give us money. Donate to us. You save on your taxes. No one likes taxes anyway. Or just subscribe on Patreon. All right. If you really want, if you're really that desperate to get rid of money, over here, please. All right. Our giveaway will be live tomorrow. Knock on wood. We'll see if I can follow through. On top of that, there's a link in the description and down below on the Twitch somewhere, where you can donate to us. This is not the only place you can donate to us, but this is for the event. All donations that are done through this event link are matched 1-for-1 for the first 10,000 donations. So make sure you donate, and depending on how much you donate, you unlock certain rewards like our epic stickers, our collab t-shirt, and our epic sweater. So make sure you do that. All right. And we have pillars along the way, like streaming for 24 hours straight, shaving my head here live on stream, and shaving my beard, which no one wants to see. So we don't need to get to that. All right. All right. What's up, YouTube account? That's a very unique name there. Alrighty, so let us continue on our journey. Let's first load up Bing. I always hate this landing page. All right, let's pull up chat. The only reason why we are using Bing, so we can access this beautiful application, and let us continue our epic journey here, shall we? Any questions, comments, or concerns before we chug along? All right, before we chug along from yesterday, start adding more beautifulness to this. I do need to load up Postman again. I didn't see you guys ask any questions in the Discord. I guess I did forget to mention that. If you are a Patreon, what happened to the chat? Chat, come back. There we go. If you are a Patreon or Discord supporter, make sure you jump into the events chat. You can ask verbally anything at any time during the stream. You don't have to type it in YouTube or Twitch chat, all right? At any time, you can just ask verbally. So join, ask, and again, Patreon or the Discord subscription stuff will get you access to that. All right, so we got Postman up. Let's put it right here. And let's go ahead and continue. I don't see any questions, so let's get to it, shall we? Yesterday, we left off by making our main application here, utilizing Flask, all right? Because we're doing an Instagram clone. That's going to allow us to upload images and do image posts, do normal text posts, but harness machine learning also to give us extra functionality, to give us insight on the photos, all right? We got to use at least 2 different programming languages because, again, this is modeled after what you could potentially be given for the practical exam. It's 2 languages of your choices, except this is a little bit more hardcore than what we're going to give you because this is going to be showing you some stretch goals for things for you to investigate and get into. All right. So we started diving into authorization. We made the sign up, we made the login, and it's looking absolutely beautiful. All right. Very basic, not saving anything, not retaining anything. The challenge yesterday was to look into JWT, so you can issue JWT tokens, and that can be used as a valid API key that people can then use when they query your endpoints, and you won't return any data until they have a valid one. If that was very confusing for you, don't worry. We're going to go over it. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to break it down. All right? So, why JWT? Again, recap on that. You don't want to be passing username and passwords every single time you want to use something. That's super annoying and super insecure because you're exposing it more and more often. Instead, you can produce something like an API key or a session token, or there's various other things you can utilize. We're going to use an API key, which is effectively a username and password for you, but it's disposable. All right. You still don't want to give it to other people because if you were to give me your API key, aka that JWT, I can use it and access services and it will think it's me or think it's you. So it's not good. The pro is you can just delete that one, get a new one without having to reset your username or password, any of that jazz. All right. So let's go ahead and check out how we can make a JWT, get it issued to us. And then let's go ahead and start getting the database set up and integrate our login with the database so that way users are persistent. So step number 1, check out the JWT docs, which we did yesterday. Let me pull them up because it was really easy to get JWT integrated. All right, so it's right here in introduction. Was it introduction? I think it's libraries. Libraries, then we gotta go find Python. There we go, Python. We want the PyJWT one and the GitHub repo right here. And there we go. Now we're at PyJWT. The first thing is we need to pip install it. All right, we need to pip install it. And I see that error. Give me 1 second. Let's go ahead and pip install it. And on top of pip installing it, we want to add it to our requirements file. So that way, when we give this project to someone else, maybe our friend, someone else on our team, they can just run this requirements file and automatically install everything that's required. So it's PyJWT. Perfect. Let's open up our terminal and pip install PyJWT. And now we have this bad boy installed and now it's usable on our program. So let's go ahead and pull up the usage right here. It's super easy again. There's just encode and decode. That's pretty much all we need to start using it. The important thing is to keep the secret secret. The secret should never be exposed at all. This is literally a secret you make, and it can be way longer than this. This is just a really short, easy one. So let's just try to see what we can do. Let's go ahead and do our import PyJWT. And for sign up, let's go ahead and get a test going on. Doesn't like that. Oh, just JWT. My bad. JWT. There we go. So when a user signs up, instead of saying a user was created successfully, or I guess on login, let's do it on login. Instead of saying that a user logged in successfully, we want to return our unique token. So what we're going to do is say jwt.encode. Will it auto write it for us? I don't think it will. Where is this? Copy and pasta. There we go. So now we have this. We'll just do this for now. So some payload, this is any information you want to show up in the JWT, you put it here. It is 100% up to you. There's no handles, anything XYZ, like there's no anything. Like it's up to you on what you want to put in here. So let's go ahead and I'm just gonna format it a little bit so it looks a little nicer. We're just gonna say that the user name and then say what the username is right here. Username. So we're just gonna keep the username in here. Remember, this is 100% public, so do not put the password in here. Our secret password that's going to secure everything, our whole platform, is gonna be this beautiful thing. Oh, we gotta get some special characters in there too. There we go. That's our secret key, right? Don't share it with anyone. I'm only showing you guys because I know I can trust you guys, all right? All right. And the last thing is we want to return our token. So we can instead, we can still keep the message if you would like, or you can remove it, but you should at least include also something called token, which will have the authorization token that they will use to access your services moving forward. So now when we do, when we start up our application here, in these are my more recent commands. We need Flask. Oh gosh, darn it. Flask, tac. Let's just do tac help. I already forgot. We already went through this struggle yesterday. I already forgot again. All right, here we go. Tac app. Flask, tac app, main.py, run, tac debug. And there we go. Now our server is running, and if we go over to Postman and we do our login, all right, sorry, yeah, right here, get login. So we want to log in, sorry, get login. We want to do a post login. So let's go ahead and do our login. So we're going to log in as Bobby B123. And here we go. We successfully logged in, and we now have this token. This is what we're going to use for now on to prove that we logged in successfully and we have access to the server, or we're supposed to have access to the server. It's really that simple. That's it. And if we look just to validate that the JWT is good, right here, paste, bam, right? It says signature is invalid because we have to enter in and verify the secret, which it was bugging out yesterday when we were doing it. So, but right here you can see username Bobby B123. Right? We have successfully made it. I do want to just see if it will work now. Copy the secret, paste it. Look at that. All right, they didn't bug out this time. I don't know why it was bugging out yesterday. We changed that secret to our secret, and now it says the signature is verified. So that's how, again, no, please go to unverified state. Okay, let me answer a question. Let's see. For the aimbot, yeah, no, this is not for aimbot. You can go to the Discord and ask your question there, but this is for 100 days of rootkit right now. We're not taking those type of aimbot questions. All right. So on. I just want to highlight that again. Let me copy the token. And we're going to paste it right here. Again, look, invalid signature. Basically, what it's saying right now is this is a valid token that someone made. We're trying to use this passcode per se, this secret key here, to see if that is the secret phrase for the server that created it. All right. It's not. So that's why the signature is invalid. So if someone sent you this token right now to your server, you should deny them access to your endpoints. You should be like, no, you're not an authenticated user, all right? Because this signature that's attached to it is not equal to the secret on your server. But when it is equal to the secret on your server, all right, so let's put in our actual secret right here, copy. Then your server will be like, oh, perfect. This was this was created with our secret code, all right, and we have now verified it, which means it had to come from our server. There's no way it did not come from our server, all right? This is a guarantee, right? Guarantee that it came from your server. Of course, you can put a little asterisk on that, but look, it's a guarantee. That's all that matters, all right, for you right now. And this is pretty much how most of the web works, right? You can see this when you right click and go inspect and view your cookies and stuff on your logged in services. You may see something in a very similar format, all right? Hopefully not, but sometimes you will. All right, let us continue. What is up, noise? So, how do we verify? We need this up. How do we verify this? We use the decode, all right? When you use this decode function, you must pass in the secret. This will tell you whether it came from your server or not, guaranteed, because it must use the same secret. Now, this all depends on your secret being a good secret. If your secret is secret or my cool secret or something like that, then someone might be able to guess it. And if they're able to guess it, then you're compromised. If they can't guess it, then you're secure. So choose something really weird like the thing that we just made. So let's see this in action, shall we? Let's go here to our site, and let's just make a little test endpoint, all right? Let's make a new resource here. Let's call it just test, right? And in our libs, let's make a new file called test.py. All right, in test.py, we're just gonna make a class. Let's go and copy from auth over here. We're gonna go and make a class called test, and all it's gonna do is have a get function. There we go. That's gonna return hello message, hello world. So again, very simple, just a endpoint. We gotta import it here. So import libs.test, and then this needs to be test.test. All right, so we just made a new endpoint here called test. It only has a get request on it, and it will just return to us hello world. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy. If we go over to Postman right now, let's go ahead and make a new folder here. This is just to show off the concept real quick. We're going to use this a lot here. Let's just call this folder test. And inside this test folder, we're going to make a request called test get test. This is going to be a get request to our little URL here. And this is getting annoying, so I'm going to show you guys a new functionality here on Postman. And this is going to be at /test. So if we run this right now, right, you'll see we get hello world, right? Nothing crazy, nothing complicated, nothing insane. We're going to see hello world shows up, right? Let's now demonstrate the power of the JWT and how it can secure your endpoint. Let's say this test endpoint, we only want authenticated users to access it. Why? Well, imagine it's for user information, like your address, your social security number gets displayed here. All right, important information you don't want anyone else to see about you. You only want you to be able to hit this endpoint. All right, you only want you to be able to hit it, or your authenticated self, fully authenticated self. If you're not, then you're going to be compromised. So we want to fully harden it, right? Fully harden it. So how do we go about doing that? That sounds really hard. That sounds really complex. That sounds like it's going to be a lot of steps. It's not, right? It's not. You just got to take the time to look into it. Luckily for you guys, I'm demonstrating it right now. We already did half of it, which is in code, and only needs to be done once upon login, right? After that, you pretty much need decodes everywhere, right? Because decodes are going to be the way you can verify everything is good. So how we're going to go about that is copy and paste, because that's our favorite thing as a dev, is stealing things. We're little thieves. So we're going to copy paste this. All right. Our get request does not have, we can't use request dot, what was the one we used here? Request dot get JSON, because you can, but get requests are not supposed to, according to the reg. All right. You don't have to listen to the reg, because again, everything computer science, it's up to you. All right, there's a proper way to do it, which is what they want you to do, is conform. All right, and but you could just do whatever the hell you want. All right, it's up to you. We're going to conform. Get requests should not have data in the body. You should not be able to get JSON, but you can pass things in the URL. Those are called query parameters. All right, we talked about them before here. Query parameters. You can pass data for get requests here. This is the proper way to do it, not in the body. Your body should always be none for get requests. How do we get data out of a query param? Great question. In requests here, you can do dot and query string. Is it just query string? Thought it would give you, I just did this earlier. Let's go to good old Bing and see if it can give us the code here that we need. So let's say we're using Flask RESTful get out query parameters. Show me the money. Are you making an Instagram database clone? We're making a whole cloned application, front end and back end. Right, as our final project, we're showing a lot of proper ways to go about stuff, challenges, basically showing how you can, showing what you may see on the practical exam, but also going further than that to show you what you can learn and how you can expand your horizons even more. So here is exactly what we need right here, request.args, right? Request.args is what we are looking for. So if we do args, right, now we got args, and args is going to be a dictionary, right, a dictionary of items. So we also need to actually we'll show it off both ways. We're going to show off two different ways, right? Request.args, and then another way is going to be encoded equals request dot, bring it up, here we go, header dot authorization, and let's go ahead and comment this one out. I'm going to show this one here in a second. So right now, if we close this, we need to pass our API token via the parameters, and it's going to be a dictionary, so let's call this our API or our token. It's going to be equal to encoded token, and then we're going to put that right here. All right, so that way we can extract it out of the query parameter called token. So now let's go over to Postman, right? Postman over here. Right here in query params, we're going to make a query param called token, and for the value, we're going to give it the token that we got. Right? I don't know where the token is, so let's go back to sign up, or it was the login. Oh, here it is. So let's go and copy this one. Let's go back to test and paste that into the value. All right, and you can see it put it into the URL right here automatically. If we press send, you'll see that we get a beautiful, beautiful error here. All right, why do we get this error? What is this error? I thought this was supposed to work. I thought it was easy. It is. Look at the error. The error is signature verification failed. It's saying that based off the signature, this token did not come from our server. But wait a second. I thought we just made it. It did come from our server. What does this mean? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Well, if we look back at the code here and look right here at our secret, this is not the secret that we use, the secret code that we use to create the token, right? This is a different one. This is what I mean by your server this is the way to authenticate and figure out, like, did it actually come from your server? It's guaranteed, all right? Just make sure your secret is fully secret, all right? Use a long, big secret with numbers, capital, lowercase, the special characters, the whole shebang, all right? The whole shebang. So if we grab our secret we made over here and then paste that into this and rerun on Postman, you'll see now it works. Now it works beautifully, all right? But what if we change our token here a little bit? Let's put an F right there. Now it errors out again. It will always throw an error every time it's no bueno, right? Every time it can't validate that token, that it was created from a valid login. So what we can do in here is make something simple like a try and accept statement where we can say invalid token or bad login or something like that. Now this is a protected resource, right? A protected endpoint. Whenever someone tries to log in, tries to hit a protected endpoint, all right, they will not be able to get any useful information out of it. It will just completely deny them and shut them down, all right? Only people with valid stuff can continue forward. It's basically a bouncer at a club, all right? You want to get in, you got to show some ID. You don't got an ID, you're not getting in, all right? Same thing we have just created here. Are there any questions on this right now, right? Are there any questions on this right now? I don't see any questions. If you do have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat and I'll go ahead and answer it. Let's go ahead and continue on, shall we? So this is a valid way to go about passing your tokens. All right, let's see a live example of it. All right, you guys should all be familiar with, and we're supposed to be using Edge. So let me pull up Edge. You guys should all be familiar with something called Riot Games. Whether you play their games or not, you definitely have heard and know about their games. They have an API. Everyone and their dog has an API. You can go to the Riot developer portal and get access to their API endpoints. Here they are. If we click on any of them, you'll see it requires you to have a, it's not really highlighting it right now, but you're required to have an API token to access it. And you can pass that API token via GET requests like this one, which is a GET request, through the URL exactly how we did it. All right, token equals whatever. So if we try to go to this URL right now, which the base URL is, why doesn't, I hate when it does this. Let's copy this and just say Riot Games API base URL. Why are you just not showing me the base URL? There we go. I guess we can just do it like this. There we go. When we go to this one, you'll see it says status, message, unauthorized, status code 401. Huh. Pretty much exactly what we have. We did the exact same thing. Congratulations, you're programming like a multi-million-dollar corporation. There is literally no difference. You are doing exactly what they are going to be doing, right? This is it. I know, very underwhelming, but this is it. This is literally it. All right. So what they're doing is the exact same thing, looking for that token. If you don't pass that token, they're going to throw an error, right? That's it, right? They're going to throw an error, be like, you don't belong here. You don't have proper creds. You don't have proper identification, right? You can pass the token via the args, but what's more common is to pass it through the header, right? Pass it through the headers. So again, HTTP has headers for all requests. They're kind of like params, all right? They're kind of like params. Most of the information that gets passed in here is pretty useful stuff, right? Including authorization. So you've seen this authorization page here. All this is a fancy little page that will add stuff to the headers for you automatically. So if we click on here and see this thing called bearer token, we can add our token here, right? Before we do that though, let's go ahead and rerun this, and you'll see that we still get a error, right? We're getting a key error, HTTP authorization. That means that it tried to find this, but it didn't find it. All right, and this should be token. All right, it tried to find this, but it doesn't even exist on a request, so it errored out. So this is something we should change to maybe a .get. So that, whoops, this is supposed to be a, there we go. We should change this to a .get, so that way, instead of erroring out, it just returns none, and when it gets to this step, this will error out, but it's okay because we're handling it, right? So now when we rerun this, you're gonna see it handles it, says invalid. Why is it invalid? What is it doing right here? Why is it saying header authorization? This is the most common way you'll see when you're using a API token, how people want to accept it. So I highly recommend also utilizing it this way. You can even see on this Riot Games page that they want your token to be sent to them via the header, an authorization header with this thing called bearer and then your token, right? Bearer and then your token. This is exactly what we're going to do right now. Postman automatically does it for you. If you click on bearer token and just put your token in here, it will handle the rest for you. So if we go grab our token, copy, and then paste it in here, congratulations, that's all we gotta do. We press the send button and it doesn't work because I'm pretty sure our secret is still not correct. Looks correct on. Hold on. Let's do a sanity check here real quick. Copy. Pasta. Oh, we have some stuff we got to clear out. All right, we have some stuff we got to clear out. So let me go and print token so we can see what we have to clear out. There's a little bit of stuff we got to clear out here. What's going on here? If we click on header, you'll see in this gray area on top, it's grayed out because it authorization automatically added a authorization keyed item here in headers for us, labeled with the data bearer and our token. This is the proper format we need in order to pass our token. All right, in order to pass our token to these endpoints. This is an expected format that lots of sites are looking for, including someone like, sorry, I said multi-million-dollar company earlier. I meant multi-billion-dollar company earlier. All right, you want to program like a multi-billion-dollar company? Congratulations. Do exactly what I did. You've now done it. All right, there's, again, very underwhelming because there's not too much more up. All right, there's not too much more up. It's more mixture and just getting used to things and doing stuff faster. All right, so when we run this, let me pull up this and send this again. You're gonna see that we are getting the token here. We are getting the token, except it has this thing called bearer in the front of it. We want to get rid of that, right? Because that's kind of messing up our decode here. So we can easily get rid of that. This is a string. Strings can be sliced up. So let's go ahead and slice it up. Bearer is a consistent thing. It will always be there. So you can always try to slice from that point on. this could also throw errors if this is not a, if this returns a none. So maybe we don't slice it right here. Maybe we do if token, let's, all right, we gotta program this somewhat correct. So if token is a string, so if the token is a string, then we want to split it. There we go. This works perfectly, actually. So there is going to be a space after bearer. So what we're going to do here is split the string at that space, which will turn it into an array of bearer, and our token is going to be the second item. So we're going to grab that second item, throw it into token, and now this will work. So if we pull up Postman, run it, you'll see that now we're authenticated. All right, we're fully authenticated, we're fully in, and we are running forward with our server development. Any questions on that? Because it's a lot, but it's not, because all we did was show off encode and decode and where to put it in, and then we showed how you can get args and headers, right? And then how you can stitch all this stuff together. Any questions? I don't see any questions, so let's go ahead and chug along. If you do have questions, just ask them, all right? Just go in and ask them. All right. So let's take a little bit of a step back, because things are starting to get not dry anymore, all right? And we like to be lazy. We like things to be dry as the programmers, all right? What's not lazy right now? Well, first off, I have to copy this URL. I don't remember what this URL is half the time. I don't remember what port it's on. It's really, ugh, all right? Really, ugh. What if I want to try it on my prod server? You know, I have my cooldomain.com, and I want to try this and see if everything is working on that site. You're telling me I have to go through and copy and paste and change it? Ugh, that's work. I'm a developer for a reason. I don't want to do work. I don't want to do work. I want to be as lazy as possible and rake in as much cash as possible, all right? So there are lazy features built in, so we don't need to do all this manual labor. If we go to the very top of our collection, and technically you can also do this on every folder section. I lied. You can't do it on the folder section. If you go to the top of your collection, so this collection is called 100 days, we can click on this section called variables, where we can create variables, right? So let's make a URL variable, and this URL variable will be our URL, all right? So we'll just paste our URL in there, and that's it. We're going to click on save, so it's saved. Bam, we've now made this. We no longer have to type in the URL. Well, we do literally have to type in URL, but we don't have to type in this anymore, all right? Also, what's convenient with this is you can have multiple URLs. And now you can say this is, you know, for mycoolsite.com. All right. We can save that. And there's toggle switches right here. So you can turn off the local testing and just have it so it's running your remote server, right? Running and testing your remote server. You want to switch back to local testing? Great. Check that. Great. Now you're doing local testing again. Super easy. That's what I like to see as a developer. I want to keep it easy and lazy. For your URLs here, what you have to do is double, all right, you got to do double curly braces, and then say the variable's name inside. So let's go ahead and replace all of these with double curly double curly braces, double curly braces, and double curly braces. Just that easy. We click on run, it's still working. All right, it's still working. So now we don't need to copy and paste and remember what our URL is. We just say the literal thing URL. Next thing, right, that is getting kind of annoying is this secret, right? We haven't even used it that much, but every single endpoint that you want to use, you potentially will need to include that secret if you're going to go about it this way. All right, that in itself is really annoying. What if the secret changes or you want to change it later on? That's not dry. So how do we solve this? Environmental variables, right? Environmental variables. Now, yeah, you could go and set it to your path, like click on your Windows key, environmental variables, and set it in your path there. That's a lot of work. There are easier ways to do it. We are programming, so we can do it the programmatic way. We can make a file, and usually this is going to be something like a hidden file. So we're going to click on file, do .env, and maybe .local or whatever you want to call it. We're just going to call it .env. This is going to be our environmental variables, right? Environmental variables. The format for environmental variables is make a variable and have it equal to something. It's just that simple. And then press enter and do everything on its own line. All right. So we want a variable that's going to be our JWT secret. So let's call this JWT secret. Now it's pretty custom to keep everything as all caps when it's going to be something really global like an environmental variable. So I'm going to do all caps in snake case, JWT token equals, not token, sorry, JWT secret, holy crap, equals, all right, and then our secret. What is our secret? Well, we made our secret right here. So let's copy and paste that. You don't have to include quotes. You can, but you don't have to. And that's pretty much it. We now made this environmental variable. It's not loaded yet into our application, so we still gotta load it up. But this is the first step you gotta take. Next, we gotta load that environmental variable up here in our main program. All right. So it's easiest if you go to main, and at the very, very beginning of it, before everything else, this is where you want to edit and modify your environmental variables. So right here, we can go ahead and write that code. What is that code? Great question. That's what Bing's for. All right. Python code for loading.env. Any questions that you guys have so far while this is answering it? There we go. So that's the code for it. We import .env and then load.env, and then we say what environmental variable file, what the name of it is. So it's .env, and that's pretty much it. Let me change this. Why does this keep getting switched? 3.10 is, I believe, what I'm... There we go. All right. If you don't have .env, I thought that was a pre-built library. I guess not. So you have to pip install python-tac.env. I thought that was included. I'm going to go ahead and copy this line because this is what we're going to do next. So this will load in your file here into the environmental variables that you can then now access, right? So what we're going to do from there is we're going to go to our test here. We want to use that environmental variable here, right? How do we access it? Well, you can ask Bing, and Bing will automatically generate you this code. So you have to import OS, and when you import OS, you will get access to this function called env-irn. All right, this is a dictionary that allows you to access any of your environmental variables. So instead of having this long secret here, we can simply say os.evIRN and then jwt_secret, because that's what we have this named as. All right, and we can copy this code right here and then go over to our auth and paste it right here. We got to import OS at the top, import OS, and wham, bam, that's it. Now our code is more dry, which we like, all right, which we like. And if we ever want to change what our secret is, we just change it here and it changes it everywhere, which is the most ideal condition as a developer. That's what we cry over, right? We see that and we like, that's so beautiful. Oh, the time, the savings. All right. So if we run and try to hit our endpoint here, you're gonna see everything still works. Everything is all dandy, is all good, right? I did not break anything. That's good, right? That's good. Any questions? Any questions right now? All right, I don't see any questions. So if you do have any questions, go ahead and ask them at any time. So let's continue, shall we? The next thing we gotta do, because we just added the JWT, is we gotta integrate our database, right? We gotta stand up a database, connect to the database, and whenever a user signs up, we gotta add them to the database, and then we need to also make it so they can, should we track sessions? Yeah, sure. We'll track. Yeah, we'll track sessions. We'll track sessions too. No, do we? I'll figure. I don't know. I'll make up my mind as we go forward because it's not that difficult. It's just more, and we got a lot of other stuff to go through. All right. So we need to do our database. So we got to think about our database layout and how we want our database to look like. Obviously for this, we're going to want a users table. In a users table, again, every time we're making a table, like I said in the database section, always just throw in that ID column, right? Throw in that ID column. The ID column should be an unsigned int. Oh, wow. How does it, what? Is it listening? I swear this thing is listening. How? Like what? Okay, whatever. This is for what we're actually going to be doing next. So we're going to want, oh God, it's building out our database for us. All right. So we want ID, username, password, maybe the created at, and maybe updated at would be good. Created at, disabled, and we'll call that good for right now. So this is going to be the table that we're effectively going to make. So again, always include ID. We need to know what username they have. Again, if you want to collect things like their real name, first name, last name, you could add that here also. All right. We're going to keep it very, very simple. The password, again, do not store a password raw into the database. You are going to want to hash it. All right. You're going to want to hash it ideally with a salt, or the best way to go about doing is just don't do authentication and storage of passwords. Offload it to a third-party service. So that way you never have to deal with passwords, right? You never have to deal with passwords. But we should also keep track of when this account was created, when the account was last updated, aka they updated their their username or their password. Maybe we want an email field here to know what email they used, all right? So we can send them updates, notifications, etc., and whether their account was disabled or not, all right? Because deleting is pretty aggressive. What if you had a user on your platform that was, I don't know, spreading something very bad, malware, right? Spreading Trojans. You don't want to just delete them from the site, because by doing that, by deleting them from the site, if that's a one-for-one for deleting them on the database, well, now you just potentially lost what their email was, what their name was, when they created the account, their IP addresses. There's so much information. you're going to want to put it in a disabled state. So it's not deleted. They just can't do anything. All right. They just can't do anything. And then you can investigate the problem. All right. That's the pro gamer move. All right. You're going to want little steps like that in place. Because it's a lot of issues that could potentially come up. If you don't, and your stuff pops off and you become viral. All right. So I think this is pretty much all we need for our users table. All right. This you'll figure out in a second. The format is exactly what we need because we're going to use this cool thing for Flask called SQL Alchemy. All right. And it will automatically, potentially create the tables for us. So it's just about the top of the hour. So let's go ahead and take our 3 to 5 minute break. When we come back, we're going to turn on the database, a database. We're going to connect to it and then show how to use SQL Alchemy to magically create all of the tables for us without actually having to interact with the database at all. Right? All right. I will see you guys in 3 to 5 minutes. Alrighty. We shall continue our journey, right? We shall continue our journey here down the rabbit hole. Alrighty, I hope y'all are excited. Before we do though, let's go ahead and quick recap. We're a Rootkit nonprofit here in the US. Don't go to college, don't go to any other boot camp. Watch 100 days, all of it, get certified, get a job. That easy. Moving on, nonprofit, save money, avoid taxes, donate today. Depending on donation, get merch. What merch? Here's merch. All right. All the donations matched 1-for-1. First 10,000, and pillars along the way. Streaming for 24 hours straight. Shaving my head, and we don't even mention the last one. All right. Doesn't even matter. What a beautiful, beautiful recap we just did there. All right. Alrighty. I don't see any questions from what we've covered so far, so I'm gonna assume you guys are good. If you guys do have questions, make sure you ask them. So let's go ahead and chug along, shall we? So, when you're going through Flask has a lot of add-ons, right? It's a pretty big library. It has a lot of add-ons. Now you can just go through making your database and then connecting to it and then interfacing with it. But there are some all-in-one solutions out there that are very, very beautiful, right? And Flask has them as modules that you can install. It's called Flask SQL Alchemy, and if we go over to Bing here, I guess I'll just search it first. So Flask SQL Alchemy, right? This is for interfacing with SQL databases, and SQL Alchemy will auto-magically do a lot of stuff for you. We talked about it the other day. This is the page I was looking for, right? This is the beautiful looking one. The other one that came up, that one's not as beautiful looking, all right? It's pretty much just this simple to get set up, where we say we got a pip install this new thing called SQL Alchemy. We're going to then just set it up by doing this. We're going to configure it to our database. All right, we're going to have a couple more steps than that, and then we initialize, and we're pretty much done. Now we have full access to our database, and it's really easy to then create tables and have those tables be edited, etc., without having to write all that SQL code we showed off earlier. All right, earlier as in days ago. So let's see if we can get Bing here to write us what code we need to connect to. What database are we using? Oh God. No, it wasn't Maria, it was Postgres, right? Postgres, that's what we have. Sorry, 1 second. All right, Postgres. How do I start the Postgres database? And why is it not showing up? Why is it not showing up? Post. How did we start it up last time? Is it just from the CLI? Postgres? Was I being fooled? Hold on. Who said that yesterday in the chat? Now, I'm confused now. Alrighty. Well, should we use Postgres? Oh God, I hate this page so much. Why do you have all this crap? I don't want to see it when I open a new tab. Can I get rid of it? I don't even know where the settings are for it. Okay. I'm closing this so we can think without seeing all that crap. Database, Postgres, what's another one? Maria. Let's download Maria. All right, let's open a new tab and download Maria, or you can use MySQL. Let's do MariaDB install. All right. Again, a stretch goal we're not going to cover right now. Get Docker. Use Docker to spin up your database. It's going to be just so much easier. Just use Docker, right? For the love of God. All right, so we need MariaDB server. I don't want the alpha version. I don't know what RC stands for. I'm going to assume that's recent. I don't know. Short-term release. Alright, so let's go with version 10, which is the long-term release. Windows, 64-bit, MSI package, beautiful. Download. Alright, that's downloading. And we'll go and start that bad boy up. Come on, compute. So, if you have Docker, while this is going on, this is how easy it is to use in Docker. Oh, I guess we already have this installed. Yes. Finish. Maria. Oh, there's Maria. Are you sure it was? I think it was Maria that we were using. I'm confused. Okay, well, let's go ahead. I'm kind of confused right now, so let's go ahead and just have Bing generate Flask SQL code for us connecting to Maria. So Python Flask SQL Alchemy code for connecting to Maria DB. While it's doing that, why is it still starting up? Docker, please hurry up. Hurry up so I can show off why it's so much easier to use you. So it wants us to connect via that way. Is that the, let's check the docs one more time. I guess that kind of, I mean, that would make sense. And it would work. I thought there would be more commands. No. Okay, let's go ahead and connect to it that way. So here we go. We just say the database URI, and in here we're going to give it the username, the password, the host, and the database name that we want to connect to. So let's go ahead and copy all this. It's all going to go in our main.py because that's where we're initially setting up the server. So let's go to our main.py, and we're going to be doing it here towards the top. All right. We'll move things around a little bit here in a second, but we also need to add in here Flask. There we go. SQL Alchemy, and if you haven't already, go ahead and pip install it. Pip install. There we go. Press enter and make sure it is installed for you before continuing forward. So after we get that, we need to figure out Maria. What the hell is the default? Are you kidding me? Password? Holy crap, that worked. What the hell is going on right now? ID is 4. What do we want? We want to show databases. We have MySQL right there. Let's create a... Okay, so... What is... Show... Holy crap. We're in as root and the password is password. So it says right here our username is root. So hold on, let me exit real quick and let's see if we can connect via that. So our username will be root. Our password, I don't think there is a password, but we'll just put in password. Our host is going to be localhost. And our DB name is going to be, let's make a new DB and let's call this DB or clonegram. Is that what we call it? InstaClone. InstaClone. All right. All right, so Flask name, that's what we have right here. So we want to get rid of that one because that's a duplicate. This is going on app and this is going on app. So we're going to want to remove that and move it down here to this part. All right, so this should connect to our database. It may error out PyMySQL. Where do we have PyMySQL at? Oh, in there. Oh, let's just stop the server. Let's go ahead and rerun it and see what the error is, because there should be. So PyMySQL we're missing. So let's go ahead and pip install PyMySQL. And while that's doing that, let's go to our requirements here and do PyMySQL, because we were missing that. Now when we rerun this, does it work? Does it connect to the database? It seems like it's connecting. We didn't create that table. I have had issues in the past with it. Sorry, not the table, with the database. I've had issues in the past where it sometimes won't. Okay, so it is password of the password is password. Maria client password show databases. So it didn't create the database. So we're going to need to create the database before moving forward. I don't know why it's saying it didn't throw an error. But let's go ahead and make that database called InstaClone before moving forward. It will pretty much create everything automatically for us except for the database itself. So let's go ahead and create that. And I believe that's just create database. And then we give it the name, or is it just create and then we'll figure out here in a second. Create InstaClone. There we go. That looks like that worked. So let's show databases, and our new database is created, InstaClone. All right. So that's just that easy. Create database and then the name of your database, InstaClone. That's all we need to do. So this should be all set up now. I'm going to end the server one last time and then rerun it just to make sure it is fully connecting. And now we have SQL Alchemy pretty much all set up. That's all we had to do, right? Pretty dang easy, right? Pretty dang easy. How do we do stuff with this database now? All right, how do we do stuff with this database? That's a great question. Let's go check out the docs, shall we? So we installed it. We configured the extension, and this is how we can create tables in the database, right? Using the DB object, we can define classes, and these classes will automatically generate tables in the database called whatever the class is. And all of the variables that we have attached to it will create that's right, the columns, right? And this is where we define what we want the columns to be. So you write it here once and it will work and automatically create it everywhere. And the added benefit is that it will automatically update the tables as you generate new like users, for example. And if you change any of the data here, it will automatically update the data in the database behind the scenes. So you don't have to do anything yourself, which is super, super cool. So after all models table are defined, we need to run this create all to create the table schema in the database. This requires application. Awesome. I've been working on the GUI for the rootkit. We're not answering any questions for the aimbot right now. You can ask on Sunday during chill Q&A. You can ask on Sunday if we don't have too many 100 days of rootkit questions. So let's go ahead and copy this code here. And where's our code? This is the wrong one. All right, so we just created this here. Now we need to basically create our tables. All right, we need to create our tables. We're going to throw this logic right here because, again, we might be new. We might have never used this before. So instead of creating a bunch of files and organizing it, we just kind of want to do a quick test to see if it's working, to see if it's functional. All right. So let's go ahead and copy this code and just paste it right here in our main, right below this stuff. And on top of that, we know to finally create. So this is for defining everything, and this is for creating it. We need to do this last step right here. All right. So let's go ahead and run that right here, and bam. Now, before we go about doing this and creating and saving, we do know that we need some more columns in this. We need not just ID, username, and we don't want email, but we want all that stuff we defined earlier right here. So I can just copy all this, paste it right here. We got to tab it up, and we're pretty much ready to go. I need to import date time. Import, oh, there we go. Perfect. So rundown of this, DB is our active connection to the database. Dot column is to create a new column. We need to tell it again what type of data it's going to be holding. No different than if we were going to do this connected to the database using dbeaver. All right, no different than that. Additionally, we can define it whether we want it to be a primary key, whether we want it to be unique, nullable, its default value, all right, on update, so what happens when whenever it's updated, and then you can also modify the index. All right, go check this out to see all of the available options for you, but pretty much everything you can do in the database you can do right here. So this is what we want, so I'm going to go ahead and save. All right, and it should auto create this in the I'm going to stop it and restart. This should automatically create it in the database. How do we know if it did that or not? Well, we got to connect to the database. Now we could continue using the terminal client if we want, but we have dbeaver installed from earlier. So let's just load up dbeaver and connect to our local database and see what it currently looks like. Why are you taking so long, dbeaver? Holy crap. There we go. I'm not going to upgrade you right now. I guess we were using Postgres. Why didn't Postgres start early? It says it's connected to... Why? You know, I'm not going to ask any questions right now. So apparently Postgres is running on my computer and it's connected to it. Whatever. We're going to make a new connection. And we're connecting to Maria. It's going to be localhost. The database is going to be InstaClone. Username is going to be root. Password is going to be password. And we're going to connect. And we're all connected. We're going to open this up for databases. And here we see InstaClone is made. And then we have tables. And look at that. The user table is in here. It's automatically created for us. We didn't have to do anything. That's the power of SQL Alchemy. All right. Write once, works everywhere. It automatically created the table for us. All right. And it's super easy to now add stuff to the database because we just create users. All right. We just spawn objects off of this class and it will automatically create new items in our database. So this is cool. We've now experimented it. Yeah, we don't want to keep it here in the main .py, but the point was not to keep it here in the main .py. The point was to just do a quick test. You could also call this like a test class if you wanted. But this is super, super awesome. Now, there are some potential issues. Let's make a new column, and let's just call this column that. All right. Let's stop the server, restart the server. All right. Will this column show up in our database or not? I don't know. Let's see. Let's go back here. Let's click on the refresh button. And you'll see that that new column we created does not show up here. All right? Does not show up here. By default, and not really by default, pretty much in general, SQL Alchemy will not update your tables that are created, right? It's a more manual process to update them and sync them up. So it's highly recommended that the easiest way during testing is to delete the table completely, then rerun the server, and then the table will be automatically created again in here. We got to do our refresh. Go ahead and refresh. Here we go. User table is now in here, and it has that new column. Same thing, same issue if we delete this column, we end, we restart, and we look at our database, that column will still be there even though it's not in the code. That is also an issue. All right, so just know that is one of the limitations for this library, right? And this is an issue if it's because, you know, if you have users in the user table, you don't really want to delete the whole thing. So you kind of have to go through a little bit more of a manual process to modify the table so things are synced up. So this will do like 80% of the work for you up front. Then the rest of it is just the normal manual labor. All right, but you shouldn't be modifying your database's layout that often. All right, it should be very much once in a blue moon. All right, so again, this created the database for us in the columns, which is super great, but it's more useful than that. It's a live class we can use for our users, signing up users, making users, and utilizing them. So we don't want to get rid of this. We want to keep this. So we don't want to keep it here though. So we gotta move it a little bit. So let's go ahead and move it over to here in libs. Let's make a new file here, and we'll call this user.py. We'll go ahead and copy, paste our code, and we can remove it here. And I believe if we just import it right here from libs.user import user, db is not defined. This is going to be here, db. How did I solve this earlier? I forget on the top of my head right now. Let's go ahead and consult Bing, shall we? And the app is here also. Because we could just do a DB setup. Let's just move this. Let's just move this and call this file instead of user. Let's just call this DB. Okay. And let's just paste this here, and we're going to want, well, the app is right here, which is going to mess things up. Let's remove that, put that right here. That should be fine. That app is still going to mess it up. So let's go ahead and consult Bing. Bing, bing, bing. I'm forgetting right now, and I don't want to open that code to reference it because there are sensitive things in it that I don't want to I don't want to have on stream. So give me 2 seconds as we both fumble through this. All right, that's what we got Bing for. So let's see. We want Python Flask. Again, if any of you guys know in chat, just let me know. Flask Alchemy connect to database in one file and create user table in another file. Let's see what it does with this. Any comments, questions, or concerns before we chug along here? Okay, so we can just make a blank one. Okay. I was overthinking a little bit, so we can just do this. So right here, we'll just do that. That should solve that. Import date, time. Sorry, from date, time, import date, time. So that's done there. So that should be all good. And this cannot go here. That has to go over here. So we'll just do this, and then we need to re-add our db equals SQL Alchemy app. There we go. All right, now everything is all set up correctly, and we can continue chugging forward. Again, absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Kind of a little bit of a glitch right here, but this is absolutely great. Gave us exactly what we wanted. All right, so now we can go chug forward. We don't need to spend potentially hours figuring out this stuff. So now we can just import user and now get access to user. And I'm going to import it right here just so, because we still need to create the table. So effectively what we're doing, and let's go ahead and add some comments here so this kind of makes more sense. Our main.py here is starting to look a little bit like a monster, but sometimes it ends up looking like that because there's a lot that happens in the overlord of our application. So this main part is for loading up our custom environmental variables. This next part is importing our libraries. All right. And we're already importing this. This I'm going to just move by the other Flask stuff. All right. Let's go and format. I do not like how it just formatted all that. All right, importing our libraries. Right here is our initial Flask setup. So we got to set up the Flask app, the base one. Then we need to add, we got to change its configurations a little bit to be good for SQL Alchemy's integration. So we got to just tell it where to connect to the database. Then we need to do the database connection. Then we need to do the REST API setup. All right, again, these are like plugins effectively. And this is going to be committing all of the tables to the database. All right. And right now we just have the users table, right? Just the users table. So this will just, if they're not created already, this will auto magically create it, right? A little bit weird, but that's the layout for it, right? Now this is a big no in regards to committing. We should never be committing the username, the password, the host, and the database name. The database name is, it just depends, but these three ideally you don't want to have in your code, right? You don't want to have in your code. This is sensitive information. You don't want people to know this stuff. So you're going to want to include this stuff also in your environmental variables. So let's pull up our environmental variables here, and let's make a couple more of them, right? One for the DB, DB user, DB password, DB host, and we could also just do the DB name at this point. All right, and we're not using Postgres. Our user is root, our password is password, our host is localhost, and our DB name is DB name. All right, because this is hidden. The only place these are going to exist, because we don't, this .env you can see is grayed out here. We do not push this file up. This file never gets pushed up. It is for our local usage only. But how do you get this information on the server? Well, you better connect to the server and copy and paste it over. Don't let it ever be exposed anywhere else, because this is vital information to your server, right? You want it as hidden away and not in your application as possible, because if your application gets exploited, you don't want it to spit it out. It would require a very big exploit in order to get this stuff, because they basically have to get access to your box and then look at the environmental variables on your box in order to view this stuff, right? So a lot of steps there. So this really helps you obfuscate it out. Is obfuscated the right word? I don't think it is, but right here we can just easily say our username is equal to, and this is where you're going to do os.env. Perfect. And I guess we're missing import OS. Then we're going to want the password, we're going to want the host, and we're going to want the database. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And we're going to change this string to a format string. Instead, we're going to use the shorthand format where we just put F at the front. And then here we just do curly braces and we want username. This one we want curly braces and we want password. And this one we want host. And this one we're going to use database. Perfect. There we go. Now it's all set up and we don't have anything hard coded here in our application. So it's more well defined. All right. Sorry, not more well defined. It's more modular, because now we could test it locally with certain creds and have it work. And when we want to have this on the server, all we have to do is change what's in here, right? We don't have to go in our code and edit it and mess with it and XYZ. We just change what's in here and it will change it everywhere. Absolutely beautiful, right? Absolutely beautiful. So we got a pretty nice setup going on. Let me go and rerun the server just to make sure we don't have any errors. We do have one for DB username. It says it doesn't exist, and that's because we have DB user, not DB username. So let's go and change that. Rerun DB database, and this we have as DB name. There we go. Now our server is up and running. So the last thing we want to show off here is creating a user and how easy it is when we're using SQL Alchemy. Now, you may be saying, or your head might be hurting a little bit, right? Might be hurting a little bit seeing all of this setup for SQL Alchemy. And you might want to just connect to it more normally, like how we showed earlier, using a package and, you know, etc., etc. I can understand. But sometimes a little bit of extra setup can save you a lot of pain and time later on. And that's effectively what we're doing right here. Is we're doing a little bit of extra setup so we don't have as much pain later on that we have to, you know, do. We don't have to do all those, you know, .commits and other various things, all right? This automatically does everything for us, which is absolutely beautiful. Just a little bit more of a headache at first. If you have questions for that, you can go ahead and ask on the Discord or on Chill Q&A, because this is not the stream for it. All right. So let's go ahead and show off user. All right. Let's show off user. So we need this. Let's copy it and go over to auth, because in auth, this is where we're going to be potentially creating and authenticating users at. So right here in sign up is where we're going to be creating users. We've already collected the username and password, so that should be enough to create a user now. So let's create a user. Let's say user and username and password. All right. So this is going to be us creating a brand new user. And I think that's just about it. I feel like we're missing one extra bit, but I guess we'll see here in a second. All right, let's just go ahead and try it out, shall we? Let's load up Postman. Let's go to sign up, add new user, send. Looks like it created, or our message came through. I don't know if our user was created successfully or not. Let's click on data here and refresh. And our user does not show up in here. I thought there was one extra step left that we're missing. So let's go ahead and figure out what that is. All right, so let's go ahead and bring up Bing. We could ask Bing, but I do just want to look real quick at the Flask API because I think it will just quickly tell us here. Or maybe not. Installation, define model, create table, query data. Would it be in query data? Post, this is exactly what we did here. We have a post request for a username. All right, we need to do DB session add. We don't want to add a session for the user though. We just want to add them. Do we just do a commit? Or is this for adding them to the... Let's just try doing a commit here and see if that works. So same thing as before. We just need this code right here. Put it here. No, well, we could pass through. This should work, right? I'm pretty sure we can pass through their connection earlier. I'll show that off here in a second. Let's go and try db.session commit and then run this again and then look at our database. All right, let's go ahead and do the db session.add. Let's run that again. Bad data. So we got an error. What was the error? It didn't tell us because we're not printing anything. Print. And we need exception as E. Pretty sure I know what it is. Supplied where instance was required, question mark. Mess that up a little bit. User equals user. Now we run. Did you forget to knit app or create multiple? Okay, so this is the other thing that we need. So we need to pass our full database instantiation right here to our resources. Right now, add resource has a bunch of items to it. One is the resource, aka the class we want to run. Second is the URL or that endpoint we want to hit, and then we have others, right? Other things we can pass along. So in this other things that we can pass along, this is where we can pass potentially useful information like our database connection. So let's go ahead and do db or say extra args equals, and this we're going to say our db equal to db. I believe it's just like this. We're doing sign up, so let's go ahead and just add it to sign up here. So extra args, and then we can go to here. Let's do a def init, and we want this to be extra args. And wait a second. Main.py extra args. This doesn't seem right. Let's splat them, and then we say here we want db. So we're going to say db right here, and then we're going to say db. and then this is going to be self.db. This is going to be self.db. I'll explain this here in a second. Let me just see if this is going to actually work. All right. Options, unexpected keyword, extra args. Do I not splat it? Or is it just one? I thought it was double. URL must start with lead. Okay, let's go ahead and go to Bing. Python, Flask, RESTful, pass, extra arguments. That is not what we wanted. Python rest, Python Flask, RESTful pass, extra args in add resources. Let me pull up the chat here. Just see if there's any other questions. I don't see any. There we go. This is what we want. So we need resource class kargs. That's what we're missing right here. And this takes a dictionary. So this takes a dictionary, which we're going to call our extra data. Right? Extra data. That goes here. This will automatically pass. All right, this stuff, it will automatically pass it to our class, our signup class, but it does it during a init. So we got to put here in a init, and we have to accept the data. So it will automatically splat it out. So basically everything in that dictionary, it will pass it through as one individual items or a bunch of individual items. So since we have an item here called db, it's going to pass it through as a variable called db. So we just say db, and then we can say self.db, and that will give us that connection here. So you can see now everything is working beautifully. And when we click on send, this should work correctly, and we will have our user now here in the database. What happened there all at once? The last powerful thing that I just want to show off real quick before I go through and do another just quick overview of what just happened, because a lot did just happen, and I kind of just went there for a second so I can talk to you guys through it, because we're using these powerful libraries with a lot of stuff that automatically happens for you. The most powerful thing here, and why I'm saying the headache of getting it set up outweighs the cons later on, is this alone, right? This alone. Let's say we want to hit our test endpoint, and I'm going to remove. Actually, let's just do it here in auth. All right. When we create a new user, we're going to automatically change the users.username. Well, this is creating a new user. So after we create a new user, we're then going to edit that user and say user dot. No, we're gonna do it the OG way. On that test endpoint, we're going to go ahead and comment the logic here for getting that authorization stuff out. So now we can hit it without authorizing it, because that's just some extra stuff we don't want to deal with right now. To access the database here, we're also going to need an init. So def _ init self and then db and self.db. We need access to the database for this, because I want to show how you can edit the user without doing pretty much anything. So we need to get the database connection and extra data sent to us to this test section. So we need this little bit of code here and put that right there. That will pass it on to test. So now we have access to the database. Now that we have access to the database, let's go ahead and get that user. All right. So how do we get that user? If we do db dot, there we go. Session query user, and then all, so this is going to be self dot, and we need this. So this is how easy it is to query the database. This will query the database. Where is it going to query the database? Right here. You pass the user class. That means it's going to go to the user table. What are we going to get out of the user table? We're going to get every single record out of the user table. What if you don't want every single record out of the user table? Maybe you only want one user out of the user table. Great. It's super easy. So easy, in fact, that I forgot. All right, because the typing on this doesn't work, and I can't remember how to fix it right now. So what we're going to do instead is ask Bing for Python Flask. What is it called? SQL Alchemy. Query a specific user. Come on. Go faster, Bing. Just checking to see if there's any questions. There we go. Can we just... Will that work? I don't know if that will work. We can try it. I don't know if this is going to work, though. I haven't done it like this before. But let's try it. Let's say user equals, and then let's try to print this, print user. And let's see what happens. Let's pull this up, go to test it. And it ran into an issue. Did you forget? Yeah, because this isn't connected to our active session, so that's why this doesn't work. So this needs to be altered, and how we go about altering that is, let's go here, session route. Here we go. Session execute. This is what we want to do. Let's copy that. User equals self dot session execute. We want to execute a command, a select command. So self dot db select user, and order by username. Well, we want to filter. We don't want to order by. We want to select it based off a username. I wish the typing was working right now, because it would make this way easier. Query data. Give me the full docs, please. Here we go. Filter by. That's what we're missing. Sorry, you guys. This stuff I don't usually fully memorize or commit to memory. I just always steal from my code. So we want to change this part to filter by, and then the username we want to filter by, which is going to be Bobby B. There we go. Scalar 1 means only one return. So what's going on here? This long thing, but it automatically does a lot for us. All right. We're going to, off our current session to the database, we're going to execute a SQL command. What is that SQL command? We're doing a select command on the user table, and we're going to only get the user with this username, and we're only going to get one thing back. All right. If there are multiple results, we're going to ignore them and only do one thing We're only going to get one back, and we're just going to print it here on the command line. So if we run this, we're going to see right here that our user has showed up. It's going to be labeled as user1, but this is what do you call it? Our user object. So we can do things like user.password. And if we go ahead and use Postman again, you'll see that our password gets printed out, right? And if we copy and paste this, this is where typing is really useful. So if we say here, user, our typing will come through here. We can say .username. There we go. So now you can see that there's our username and password. So this is the real power of SQL Alchemy. And what saves you a lot of time is this right here. Yeah, this is a long command, but it automatically queries the data, gets it back to you, and it will automatically be parsed and shoved into an object, right? Our user object here automatically. And now we can go about utilizing it, all right? Just like normal. And it's a normal class, which means you can add special functions to it and it will just work, all right? So that is the super cool power of it. Now, in conjunction with your authorization token here, so let's delete this code here. So to finish out our test example here real quick, when a user signs up, they will sign up, it will be put in the database. Once they're put in the database, they can log in, and then we can use that token, that username and that token, to then look up the user's profile. So if we look here in our token, we're going to decode that token. When we decode that token, it's going to return to us a dictionary. All right, so this is going to be our data equals our decoded token. And instead of saying username here in Bobby, we're going to say data and then username, because I'm pretty sure that's how we encode it right here. Yep, just username. And we can also modify our login here to now, since we have this set up, we can go right here for login. This is a new class, so we do need to do a init on it. Let me put this right here. So we need to go and do an init here. So def init self db equals, we need to change the main here to also include this. And we'll go to our auth section here. So we're going to get the data. We're going to make sure we have a username and password. If we do have a username and password, then we can try to log them in. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to find the user in the database that has that username, right? Has this username and has the this password. All right. If this is none, then we want to return that the user was not found. If not, then we're going to finish logging them in completely. And then we're going to return them their token. So let's see this in action, and then I'm going to do one more complete overview. Sign up. Username and okay. So sign up here. Now people can go to our site and sign up. They can give us a username. So let's say our username is QFC and our password is password. When they sign up on our site, they will automatically now get added to our database. So if we look here, you can see QFC9 and password is added to our database automagically. Once they're added to our database, they can now log into their account. So if we go to the login section and say QFC9, and then do password of password and click on send, they are now successfully logged in, and we have a new custom bearer token, aka their access token, to continue hitting our endpoints. If this user did not exist, so let's say Bobby is a user that does not exist in our database. So now when we log in, it will throw an error because that user does not exist in the database. Our error checking here messed up. I thought we encapsulated. Oh, this needs to be error checked also. So let's just throw that here. There we go. So now that will be handled. So now no one can log in unless they've signed up on our site, and it's being verified through our SQL request that, you know, we're seeing to see if their account even exists. If it does exist, then we'll log them in successfully and give them a bearer token. Once they have this bearer token, this is the end all be all. All right, this is the end all be all. They're able to now use our other endpoints here with this bearer token. All right, so if we go in here and press send, it says hello message world, which means it worked, but that's not the response I wanted. Real quick to show off this final little bit. If we go to test here, we get our user back, and what I want to do instead is show off our user. Do we can I convert it to a dic on print the dictionary version of user? User is not iterable. Okay, so what we're going to do instead is just return username, user dot username, password, created at, updated at, disabled. Perfect. So now, if we go to Postman and press enter, datetime object is not JSON serialable. We're just gonna get rid of these ones for right now. You're gonna see we get this through. It's querying the database and giving us all the information on this user. We did not log in. We did not send it its our username and password. All we did was give it the bearer token. All right, and the logic we have on the bearer token, we verify it. So this bearer token was 100% given to us from our server, so we know it's trusted. And since we know it's trusted, we'll allow them to hit this endpoint, which we did. All right, and we can get potentially very sensitive information now, and it's okay because we know this has to be from them because we gave it to the person that logged in. All right. Any questions on this? Right? Any questions on this? A lot of new crazy stuff we talked about. We showed off. We integrated. Again, this is going to be, you don't need to use SQL Alchemy. You don't need to use Flask RESTful. These are things that are available to you that you can use on the exam. It's not required, but we're showing you, what you could be potentially having to do on the exam, plus things you could look into that are kind of stretch goals but make your life easier. So again, overview for today. Environmental variables. We got some of them set up, so our code is more modular, and we have it as more dry now, right? We don't have things hard-coded in our code. Imports, setting up the Flask, getting stuff from our environmental variables, connecting to our database, setting up the API, creating any tables in the database that we may need to create, packaging up our current live connection to the database, making the API resources and passing the live connection to the database to our classes here, right? This resource class kargs, how do you know it exists? You don't. It's a special variable that doesn't show up when you hover over, right? So that's kind of cancerous. It doesn't show up, so you kind of have to Google for it. When you find it, you'll realize this is a special function, variable, where if you give it a dictionary, every item in that dictionary will be passed to the underlying functions the underlying init function splatted, aka it's all going to be separated out. So we can see that here in auth, in our init here, right? In our init here, can I zoom in? It got splatted out to just db. There's only one item in it, so it got splatted out. This is our only time to capture that information. So we capture it and we save it off as self.db, which now means we have a live connection to the database we can utilize elsewhere. We utilize this connection in our signup to add the user to the database. And how do we do that? Well, a part of this process, we made the user class, right? We made the user class. This is hooked up to SQL Alchemy, and it pretty much is a killer class. It will automatically create the table for us in the database, exactly how we need it. But it's a class and works just like any normal class, which means we can access all of these variables in the class at any time. And we can update any of these variables at any time in our program, just like we would normally update variables, and it will auto-magically update it in the database for us also, without us having to do any extra code, which is super, super cool and super, super awesome. So here we just simply, like we normally do with the class, make an object using that class. And in this case, we have to add it, right? We have to add it using these. So again, this will add it, and nothing is fully saved until you do an official save, aka the commit. So we run that to finalize and save everything off. All right. When we do that, the database has fully been updated with our new user. But again, the big pro here is we still, it's a class, it's an object, and it has all that typing, which is super, super awesome. We also have login. When you log in, we can use that active database connection to query our database. It's automatically going to be safe from SQL injection. So we don't need to worry about that or a lot of other SQL attacks. It will auto-magically handle it for us. And it will auto-magically return to us a variable that will have will be an instantiated object of the class, of that user class, which means we have all the normal functionality. All right, it's all done in one big line for us. Which you guys can see is when they logged in, we're able to get some information, and aka we already had their username earlier, but then we generated the JWT. So a better thing would be from this JWT, we're storing the username. So in our test endpoint, what we're doing here is we're looking at that token, all right? Then we're going to validate that token, make sure it actually came from our server. If it actually did come from our server, then we're going to look at the username that was inside of that token and go get that user from our database, which happens in this command. And it will return to us our user. It will be already parsed. All the information is going to be ready to go in our instantiated object here. And we can then return the information back. All right. So this is the baseline flow of any application you will make for authentication, right? Authentication and authorization, right? Because any application that you're going to be making for a backend will have this type of flow. You will have a database that you need to connect to, store information to, and then issue session tokens or bearer tokens or whatever other mechanism you want to utilize, right? And then people then can access closed resources via that. Any questions on this? This was a lot. This was a lot of stuff, right? This is a lot of stuff. Let's go ahead, ask your questions that you may have. Let's go ahead and finish this up with our git commit. We're going to do a git add all, git commit, and we're going to say that we connected to the DB and now can add users to the DB and query them. go and get push that up. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. And the best part is this is not going to be pushed up either, right? So it's only going to be local. So we don't need to worry about pushing and showing off our passwords and other very sensitive information. What questions, comments, or concerns do you guys have before we end today's stream? I will comment this out. I have the notes here. I will comment out the code and have it into the supporters chat after the stream. I will also get the giveaway set up for the end of 100 Days of Rootkit giveaway, which is going to go until 100 Days of Rootkit ends, and then we're going to pull a bunch of winners, right? We're going to be pulling a bunch of winners. What questions do y'all have? All right, I don't see any questions. So as always, if you do have questions after the fact, go ahead and paste them here into the 100 Days of Rootkit chat and we will answer them, all right? So I'll see you guys tomorrow on the next one.